I lay her on her back. Come up here to the umbilicus and I follow my hand down. This is the mons pubis. This is the labia majora. On this model, this is the labia minora right here. If I put this other half on, you see both sides of the labia minora. That space is the genital vestibule. If I go to the bottom of the labia minora and I go up the labia minora, I'm going anteriorly, right there is the glans clitoris. On this model, as I come up, you can see the glans clitoris right there. And covering it is the prepuce of the glans clitoris. And all of this back here is the body of the clitoris. Okay? That's all analogous to the corpus spongiosum in the male. This is the bulb of the vestibule, analogous to the corpus cavernosum. This is the one that swells up and extends the labia out further so that we have more depth during intercourse. And this is the greater bulb of the vestibule, also called the Bartholin's gland. These two lubricate the vestibule so that you have a moist penis that was lubricated by the secretion of the bulbourethral gland going into a moist vestibule, and intercourse isn't supposed to hurt. Now, remember that in a rape case, sometimes the woman never gets a chance to lubricate, never gets excited. And so this is dry, and when they go in to the vaginal vault, what they wind up doing is tearing. When we do a rape kit, we comb the pubic hair to get any hair from the rapist out that we may be able to get DNA from. We look into the vaginal vault to look for tears, because if it was dry when he went in, he tore a lot of tissue. We look for bruising of the cervix. Remember, rape is not about sex. Rape is about domination. Rape is about hurting. Okay? Now, what happens, unfortunately, sometimes, women during the case of the rape will lubricate. They may even have an orgasm. That doesn't mean that they asked for it. Doesn't mean they enjoyed it. It's an anatomical, physiological response. But they get this guilty thing. So that's the external genitalia. So then we go down. Here's the vaginal vault. Here's the rugae of the vaginal vault. If I go to, here's the posterior fornix. Here's the anterior fornix. That little opening right there is the external os. This opening right here is the internal os. When we look, if I say name this layer, and I have it pointing at the pink and the red, that is the endometrium. When you see all this muscle out here, that's the myometrium. And the white is the perimetrium. That goes on to make the broad ligament. See all this pink back here? All this pink is the broad ligament. Here, this is the broad ligament. If I do this, this is the fundus of the uterus, this is the body of the uterus, and there's the cervix. Remember, the internal os is part of the cervix.
Where's the cervix again? The bottom part?
See that thumb right there? There's the cervix right there. There's the internal os, there's the external os, that's the cervix. If I looked into the vaginal vault and I have the speculum, it looks just like that. See the cervix sticking down into the vaginal vault?
Oh,
Okay, it looks like that. If we look in here, see this ligament right here? That's the round ligament right here. Now, unfortunately, all you can see of the round ligament on this one is right here. It's been cut. But on this one, you can see the round ligament right there. Okay, see it? If I hold it this way, she's sitting on her back. This is the uterine tube. All the red is the infundibulum, and the little feathery tip is the fimbriae. Here you can see it swell up. This is the ampulla of the uterine tube. And here it gets skinny before it goes back into the uterus. That's the isthmus of the uterine tube. Whole thing is the uterine tube. This little egg-looking thing is the ovary. So this right here, that right there is the ovarian ligament. And your mesovarium is right there between the ovarian ligament and the uterine tube. That would be, give me the ovary, please.
You said the mesovarium?
Mesovarium. That would be this. Now here they're showing the ovarian ligament coming in here. Most of the time it's up here, and this would be the mesovarium. Okay? But, well, it would be, because here's the fallopian tube here. So fallopian tube, ovarian ligament, there's the mesovarium. Okay? So we did this, right? Any questions on the fallopian tube? So then we look at the ovary. This is the mesovarium. All of this back here is broad ligament, okay? This is the ovarian ligament. When we come in here, see the one that has the little blue dots all the way around? That's the germinal epithelium. If you look right underneath the germinal epithelium, all the way around, there's a little white cloud. See it? That's the tunica albuginea / ovary, because we have a tunica albuginea of the testes. Okay? This is the medulla. This is the cortex. Cortex has all the stuff in it. I come over here. This is the primordial follicle. The little blue dot is the oocyte. But remember the follicle, I don't think you were here, Morgan, were you? The follicle, think is the eggshell. The oocyte is the egg inside of the egg cell, okay? So these are primordial follicles. They're going to become a primary follicle, one ring of cells. This has a viable oocyte. This one's all scrambled up and dried up. Look at the difference, Morgan. Okay? This one is an atretic follicle, dried up, will never become anything. Remember, any one of these at any time can stop and become an atretic follicle. Okay? Primordial follicle, primary follicle, one ring of cells with a viable oocyte. Secondary follicle, 2 rings of cells. It's got that little black line that is the follicular antrum or the antrum. It's going to fill up with the fluid, the liquor folliculi, and it's going to become this great big one right here. This one has not ovulated. Oocyte is sticking up into the follicle. See it? As soon as it ovulates, that liquor folliculi flushes that oocyte out, and this one has ovulated. See it? Oocyte is out of the follicle. That little white cloud around it's been rubbed so many times it's brown. But if you look at this one, that little white cloud around it, that's the cumulus oophrus. It will nourish the oocyte. This is a tertiary follicle. So I have primordial follicle, primary follicle, secondary follicle, tertiary follicle. And this is a dried up one, the atretic follicle. As soon as this ovulates, this collapses. And these cells out here will make the corpus hemorrhagicum because it bleeds a little bit of blood. You'll never see that blood. And then it depends upon what happens to this oocyte. If it does not get fertilized, this is the corpus luteum. If that oocyte does not get fertilized, this becomes the corpus periodicum. It will secrete estrogen and progesterone for about 10 days. It drops off and the woman has her period. Therefore, it is the corpus periodicum. If this oocyte does get fertilized, then this is going to make progesterone for 10 weeks until the placenta gets embedded, then it will take over. Okay? And then we call it the corpus gravidicum. The oocyte gets fertilized. This is the corpus gravidicum. Either way, whether she has her period or whether she has the baby, at the end of either event, It's going to dry up and become these white structures, and these are the corpus albicans, scar tissue.
So
Okay,
if you
becomes
have
scar
5
tissue.
babies, you'll have 5 of those.
No, because remember, it's every time you ovulate, every time you had your period, this is going to become one of these.
Oh, okay.
You're making scar tissue all the time. The other thing that happens, remember, any one of these can become an atretic follicle. So that's more scar tissue.
Wow.
Okay? Find me a fetus, will you?
It's on the table.
You took the fetus?
I took it.
Real nice. So this is looking at the breast. One of the things you need to remember is the breast actually sits on the pectoralis major. Okay, it sits on the pectoralis major. This yellow is adipose tissue, it's fatty tissue. Most of a woman's breast is fatty tissue. These purple lines here are the suspensory ligaments. They suspend the breast up here where it belongs. Now we've gone inside of the breast tissue. If you look at this, it looks like a cluster of grapes. That's the lobe. That's the mammary lobe. If you look at the individual grape, that's the lobule. And inside the lobule, you have alveoli, and that's what actually makes the milk in the lactiferous gland. These purple tubes coming from the lobes are the lactiferous duct. And just before they leave the nipple, see I'm enlarged right here? That's the lactiferous sinus. And then the milk comes out the nipple, and this is the nipple. If the milk was just starting to come out and I looked at the nipple, I'd see 15 to 20 little dots of milk. Now when a baby nurses, they don't just nurse on the nipple. They put that whole areola in their mouth and suck. That's why it's important that you see these little glands in the areola. Those are sebaceous glands that put out an oil to help protect the nipple. Otherwise, and you'll see some women that have breastfed for a long time and the baby's got a real good suck. You'll see them get chapped, like real deep chapped lips. You'll see them here, that hurts like crazy. If you're the nurse and you see that happening, get a regular baby bottle nipple, put it over, and it'll cover the areola. And then when the baby nurses are sucking on the nipple, but they're not sucking on the mama's nipple and making it more chapped. Okay? I told you that if you're going to have a baby and you came to the office when I was practicing, I'd ask you, first visit, are you even thinking about breastfeeding? And if you told me yes, then I would tell you you need to start getting your breasts ready. From now on, when you take a shower, you take a soft washcloth and you wash your breasts and pay attention to the nipple and the areola. And then, when it doesn't bother you anymore, get a rougher washcloth. You need to get to the point where you can take that little scrub brush that we scrub the baby's head with and scrub your nipples and it doesn't hurt you. Then you'll be able to breastfeed as long as you want because you've toughened up those nipples. Okay? This is a 10-week fetus. One, and listen, you've got to put fetal in front. One is the fetal brain. Go to your, look at your lab notes and it just has them listed right in order.
5 week? Not yet.
10 weeks.
It only gives you 5.
Okay. No, it should give you 10. 10 structures?
Well, week 5 is what I'm telling you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Brain,
So here's the fetal brain, number one.
nose.
I don't have that on here.
Fetal brain's not there?
No, it is. Oh, it's down here. Oh, that's hard to look at it. Right, it's not on there.
2 is the fetal nose.
Eye.
Oh, this one's got 4 as the fetal eye, but it's 3. Give me the other one. Yeah, this one. 1 is the brain, 2 is the nose, 3 is the fetal eye, 4 is the fetal lower jaw, 5 are the fetal pharyngeal arches. Now that picture I gave you, name what all these different arches are going to become. Us, we're just going to call it the pharyngeal arches. 6 is the fetal heart. 7 is the fetal liver. 8 is the fetal upper limb bud. It is not an arm or a hand, it is a limb bud. 9 is the fetal lower limb bud. And 10 is the fetal spinal column. And the fetal ear sits right about here. Okay?
And that's what number?
Oh, there is no number.
Oh, fetal ear.
Yeah.
Okay, on here, there's no upper limb bud.
This is the brain.
Yes.
No, it's
Upper limb bud is right here. It's arms.
lower limb.
So it will become the arms.
That's 8.
And 9 is the lower limb bud that'll
And what
become
is
the legs
10?
and the foot. Huh?
What is
Vertebral
10?
column.
Where's
10 is the vertebral column.